Morning, everyone. Welcome to this morning's edition of the NPC Markets Morning Call. Investors went old school last night. Dow was up 1.5%, and the Nasdaq was down, which I thought I might be going red, green, colorblind because that hasn't happened for a very long time. But as we can sort of see here, your more traditional companies like the banks, the healthcare sector, which hasn't seen a positive bit of sentiment for a good 12 months now. And then a fair bit of steam come out of these, AMD, Broadcom, and Micron. And Broadcom, I mean, it didn't have bad results, but everyone was hating on that stock particularly. And probably see in the middle there, sort of CrowdStrike, Palo Alto, and a few of the software names giving back a little bit of heat. So that momentum that's really been going quite hard for the last sort of 10 weeks is, we've had a 10-week consecutive up run, albeit by, give or take 0.6% as of today. Basically, the S&P's flat as of today, but on a 5-day basis. But we could have a 10th consecutive week in a row, which is fairly unprecedented. That we broke that win streak yesterday on the days. So, but overall, we've had a pretty positive sort of, very positive little period. As you can see, Dow up. Well, it actually ended up being up 1.69. The Russell up 1.5. The S&P up 0.4 only, but the Nasdaq down 0.5%. So that's a very large shift out. And we'll be very heavily focused on payrolls tonight. Overall, we've got crude up sort of 6-ish. Down 2 and a bit percent, but up 6% for the week. And look, I know everyone's got news fatigue about this, but Strait's still not open. And according to the likes of Goldman's and according to the likes of the Chevron CEO, reserves are just getting more and more depleted, and we still haven't got a resolution. So I think Israel and Lebanon renewed their ceasefire and then broke it within hours. It's just it's kind of pointless having a ceasefire between those two. Probably just need to be a bit more realistic and have a less missiles or a less attacks instead of calling it a ceasefire. Trump said for the 75th day in a row that the Iran talks were in the final stages, and then Iran said that no tangible progress has been achieved. So Groundhog Day there. And the Republican-led House voted to block Trump from continuing the Iran conflict. There you go. His own people turned on him. So, we've got non-farm payrolls tonight. Consensus is 85K and 4.3% unemployment. That would be a pretty good result, I would have thought. I'd be thinking more along the lines of flat, negative, and 4.5, because I think consumer sentiment and things is in businesses with increased transport costs, increased fuel costs, etc. You're not looking at hiring. You're looking at trying to make cuts elsewhere. But Trump's got his guy in there. So I guess the figure will be whatever the president wants it to be. But we had the bond yields sort of still lingering up towards those highs, and we're still seeing some private credit stress, but more sort of capping of redemptions, etc. But I mean, look, there is a chance realistically they can get ahead of this, and capping redemptions mean as long as it's not a run on money, it may actually sort of hold up, but it's still not very good. If they didn't cap these redemptions, they would be in more trouble than Skippy in a bushfire. So what else we got here? Everyone's basically talking about the SpaceX IPO. For those of you who tune into AusBiz, I did a stock of the day with Mark Morland yesterday. He's a believer and a massive Elon fan. I was slightly less positive. But it was the first 3 stocks were all around the space thematic. And it was pretty interesting, actually. So there's some pretty interesting companies in there, and we might look to do something around it on webinar wise. But this month's webinar is a bit of an update on the Software Survivors webinar that we did back in March. It was pretty successful. Not only the webinar but the stock picks, and we've updated the AI disruption threat threat heat map. You've scanned that code, you can go to that page. You can also sign up to the webinar, which is next Tuesday, and around 11 o'clock, and you can get it on demand after that. Obviously, we understand people work and have lives. But yeah, it'll be live next Tuesday at 11 o'clock. But that map is actually quite handy. The heat map on itself, as you hover over these names, it gives detail, etc., as to why they've why they're under threat or why they may benefit. Next week we haven't got much on the calendar realistically. Oracle and Adobe, which there's some two stocks that investors love to disappoint. We're closed Monday. It's Queen's birthday holiday in New South Wales on Monday. So there'll be no morning call on Monday morning. But yeah, I think the market may be open, but you'll see me back again on Tuesday with a wrap up of payrolls, etc. If you want, you can obviously, there's that QR code again. I'll be doing the same thing. I'll be interviewing the far more knowledgeable Kai Chen about this software. And for those of you who listen to this regularly, it would be a really big favour if you could, subscribe at NPC Markets, and go and have a look at bulls versus bears. Myself, Jonathan, and Kai do about a 40-minute webinar every week. Wrap up the market, have a bit of a laugh, and talk pretty casual chat, and a few deep dives into what's going on in the markets, and a feature topic every week. Most people who start listening to it keep listening to it, according to our stats. So do yourself a favour and go and subscribe. You can get them on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. And yeah, have a listen to that this afternoon, or over the week, over your long weekend, if you've got a long weekend. Have a great weekend, people, or a great long weekend if you're in the States that are getting the King's birthday holiday. And we will, if I don't see you on the podcast this evening, the Bulls versus Bears this afternoon, we'll catch you again on Tuesday. Thanks.